What's up, you guys? So in today's video, what I have for you all are going to be a few fresh fragrances and some not so fresh flankers. And I'm going to elaborate on which one I prefer and why. Just in case you're out there looking for a gift for someone for Christmas and you want some insight on these fragrances. But on that note, let's get into it. All right, y'all, so the first fragrance I have here is going to be a staple in most collectors' collections. But not just a staple in most collections, it also happens to be a lot of guys' signature scent. As in, this is one of their only fragrances that they own. That fragrance is going to be Dolce & Gabbana, the One EDP. With notes like grapefruit, cardamom, and tobacco, you get one of the most well-received fragrances of all time. Now, the reason why I bring this fragrance up is because even the flanker of this fragrance is very well-received. Now, the flanker of this fragrance is going to be a bit more bold. It's going to be a bit more something that's going to be intended for nighttime wear. So if you want to take this video as me recommending day fragrances and night fragrances, this would be the day fragrance for Dolce & Gabbana, the One. Now, the evening scent of these two is going to go to Dolce & Gabbana, the One Eau Parfum. Now, this is much more of a sensual fragrance than the original, the One. This is one that a lot of guys that I know personally have used this, worn the hell out of it, really. But this is much more intended for an evening kind of fragrance. It's bold. It's not the best projector. It's not the, super natural scent to it, but it is a very well done designer fragrance. Hence why it's one of the best top selling winter fragrances of all time, because it is the smell. When you get a whiff of it, you know what it is. It's the One. There's a reason why this is called the One, because it is that kind of fragrance. It's one that when you don't know what to wear, you can see it sit on the shelf, you go with it. It's a smart reach. For being a tobacco fragrance, it's a very smart reach kind of scent. But now out of these two, the EDT and the EDP, I recommend going with the EDP. And not just for evening wear. This can honestly be a year-round kind of fragrance. This too, but this has different nuances to it that make it a bit better in my opinion. Now, next what we have here, as of recently, is going to be one of the best-selling men's fragrances of all time. Any man can wear this, anyone can wear this. It's so easy of a scent, not only easy to wear, but also easy to like. But what I have today is going to be more of a refined version versus more of a fresh version. Now, this fragrance is going to be Oud Sauvage Eau Parfum. So yes, right now this can be considered one of the kings of blue fragrances. It's well-rounded, it lasts a long time, and generally speaking, anyone that smells it on you is going to really enjoy it. It's one of the highest complimented fragrances that I have in my collection. But let's say that this has a bit too much depth for you, and you're getting confused. Just look at the note breakdown. What you're going to get with this in the opening is going to be a strong bergamot scent, as in like a fruit opening with black pepper. But those two scents are going to be accompanied with a note of ambroxan, which is going to make it really shine off your skin, and is what makes this fragrance known for being a room filler. As in, you walk in the room and it fills the room with a scent. Now, the Eau de Parfum of this fragrance has a very nice dry down, almost like a sensual dry down. Oats like vanilla in the dry down. It makes it a very great evening scent. Evening or cooler weather scent. Yes, it can be worn year round, for sure, but with those sensual notes in the dry down, it makes it great for the cooler weather. I'll say you don't want those sensual notes. Let's say you don't want that, extra, the vanilla in the dry down, something that's not gonna be super dense in the dry down. You just want that highly complimented DNA, that, fruit opening that lasts a long time, that shines off your skin. Then you're gonna wanna go with something like Oud Sauvage Very Cool Spray. So this is absolutely the freshest flanker of Oud Sauvage, where with this, you get the Oud Sauvage DNA, you get everything about it. And off my skin, this is honestly a bit louder than the EDT. So if you want something that is beast mode, one that lasts a long time, and that people really, really enjoy, here you go. Now, out of these two, I do really enjoy the Very Cool Spray, but if I had to recommend the fresher version versus this take, I'm gonna go with the Eau de Parfum every day. The Eau de Parfum is a bit closer to the skin for me. It has a bit more depth to it, and it's honestly a bit more enjoyable to wear. But if you want to save just a couple bucks, this is gonna be a bit cheaper than this is. Again, you guys, that is the Oud Sauvage. Next what we have here is gonna be one of the most well-known fragrance DNAs of all time. Both of these fragrances are gonna be flankers to the best-selling, the absolute best-selling men's fragrance of all time. Since that original fragrance has been released, it's been reformulated, it's been changed up, and they've put out a ton of flankers. So what I have here are gonna be two of their flankers. One's gonna be a sweeter take, one's gonna be more of a fresh take. The sweet take of this fragrance is gonna be Aqua Joe Absolute. With this, you're gonna get the very well-known DNA that is the Aqua Joe fragrance, which is gonna be your fresh out of the shower, your aquatic fragrance, with the additional notes like tonka bean and amberwood. So it's gonna be a bit smoother, a bit creamier, and a bit sweeter. Basically, if you're familiar with the Invictus line, you want something that's gonna have that sweetness kind of DNA, accompanied with the Aqua Joe, go something like this. This for me is in the top 3 in terms of the best Aqua Joe fragrances. It lasts a long time, it's great for the winter and great for the fall, and is a compliment beast. But now let's say you don't want something that's sweet. Let's say that you really like the Aqua Joe DNA because of the aquatic notes. Then what I'm gonna recommend is not buying the original Aqua Joe. The original Aqua Joe has been reformulated basically down to water. So if you're out there trying to buy a gift for someone who has worn Aqua Joe for a long time, or let's say that they're running low on their older bottle, then what I recommend you pick up is going to be Aqua Joe Profondo. So this is the 2020 release from this line. If you want something that's going to be like the original Aqua Joe, have a bit more kick behind it, and last just as long, here you go. It reminds me a lot of the original Aqua Joe, minus some of the ragged edges that came with that fragrance. This to me is a more well-refined version of that fragrance, and significantly better than what they have now in terms of the actual Aqua Joe, the original. This is definitely a step up from that fragrance. And guys, that is Aqua Joe Profondo. Now next what I have here is going to be an original and a flanker. But now these two, in terms of being flankers, are different than the other ones on this list. These two differ pretty widely, with the evening scent being much more of a cashmere-heavy, compliment-getting kind of fragrance with a ton of depth, and the fresher fragrance being a very aromatic fragrance, almost barbershop-like. The original of this fragrance is going to be Prada Luna Rosa, with one of the main notes being lavender and bitter orange, mid notes of mint and clary sage, base notes of musk and ambroxan. You get a very loud lavender-heavy scent. Lavender and sage is what you get with this primarily. Lavender, sage, and ambroxan. While it being a fresh barbershop scent, it is also somewhat spicy. So it is a very interesting scent. But for me, this is not an all-occasion kind of fragrance. Whereas the flanker of this fragrance is going to be, honestly, to me, a bit more versatile. That fragrance is going to be Prada Luna Rosa Black. With top notes of bergamot, mid notes of angelica and patchouli, and base notes of coumarin, amber, and musk, you get this guy. This is the non-lavender heavy flanker of these two. This lacks that lavender punch in the opening and has a very sensual opening and sensual dry down. Where some would say this is only going to be the best in winter and fall, I would say that this is much more of a year-round fragrance than the original is. It's just not as tart in the opening or dry down. The only downside for me is that this does not last quite as long as the original does. But out of these two, what I'm going to recommend to you guys is going to be getting Prada Luna Rosa Black. Now next what we have here is going to be one of the up-and-coming bestsellers. It's kind of overshadowed by Bleu de Chanel and kind of overshadowed by Sauvage, and even overshadowed by Aqua Joe. This fragrance is going to go to YSL Eau de Parfum. With top notes of apple, ginger, bergamot, mid notes of sage, juniper berries, and geranium, and base notes of amberwood, tonka bean, cedar, vetiver, and old you get this great blue fragrance. Heavy on the juniper berries and sage, accompanied by the ginger and apple. This is turning out to be one of my most complimented fragrances. But the downside of this is that it can be a bit much when sprayed too heavy. When I say too heavy, I'm saying 6 to 8 sprays, especially in the first hour of you wearing it. But YSL has kind of fixed that some with one of its newest flankers that has been fixed with YSL Y Live. So in this, they kind of simpled down the fragrance. There's not quite as many notes in it, but what I love about this is the simplicity behind it. This for me is the scent of like a luxury body wash. It's so clean and fresh and inviting. It almost smells purple. But the reason why I grabbed this instead of the EDP is because this garners so many more compliments. It's much better received, and the girls absolutely love this stuff. But now if you want something that's even fresher than this, you can go with something like YSL Y Eau Fresh. Even though I tapped through an entire bottle this past spring of that fragrance, I'm still gonna recommend going with this instead, because to me, it just smells better. So like I said, out of these two, out of the YSL, all right, it's gonna be tough in the stores here, guys. It's gonna be real tough. You're gonna have some issues here. So pointing out the difference in the stores for these two, it's gonna be a bit tough. But right here, you'll see the YSL Y EDP has a darker tinge up front, and this has more of a blue tinge. This is the YSL Y Live. And what I'm gonna recommend here is gonna be the YSL Y Live. But guys, down here, I do have a bit more fragrances that I wanna share with you guys. But this would be a real long video if I did that. And guys, like I always say, keep it gent, and I'll see you all next time.